What is going on, fellow gamers? ChaosEclipse here. We're gonna try something new today, guys. So, I've had a PC. It's not the greatest, but I've been doing a little bit of research, and I should be able to make some videos on here. I have been debating for the longest time on what game I want to actually play. So, back in the day, when World of Warcraft first came out, I wasn't playing it. But I did join during the retail version of Burning Crusade, towards the end of it. It was literally probably a couple months right before Wrath of the Lich King came out. I fell in love with the game. I played it for a good 6 years. After a while, things happened, and I kind of fell off with the game. Don't get me wrong, I was definitely sucked into the game. It is it can be a black hole. You can spend a lot of your time doing stuff in here that you probably shouldn't all the time. Scheduling things for a game versus prioritizing things in your real life can be very sketchy. So if you guys play this, obviously you guys know that. If you don't play it, be careful if you plan on playing it. There's actually 3 versions of the game right now. There's still the retail version out there, which is now, I think the newest DLC that came out for it was the Dragonflight. That one has an entirely new starter story to it, so I didn't want to do that because I wanted to experience the old game again for the nostalgia. There's also World of Warcraft Classic that only takes you to from level 1 to level 60. And then there's this, which is Wrath of the Lich King. I don't know if they're going to continue with Wrath of the Lich King, because after this one, they should go into Cataclysm, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure what they're going to do with it. The Classic originally started as this, and then they came out with Classic because people got mad of Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King. So they remade Classic. Classic is now just Classic, 1 to 60. Your very first starter classes and races. But this is pretty much where I joined the game anyway, so we're actually going to start with this. We are still going to start at a level 1. We are going to start on a PvP server. I fell in love with the PvP in this game. I'm not good at this game. I'm not good at PvP. I'm not good at World of Warcraft in general. But the PvP in the game, I fell in love with because of the way it works. It reminds me of the very first MMO I played, which was Star Wars Galaxies. It is very open world, and it's up to you whether you flag yourself PvP or not in that game. This game is a tad bit different. You don't have to flag yourself. They have basically zones that are built for just your faction, and as long as you don't attack the other faction, you're good. They have neutral factions where anyone can attack anyone, and then they have straight opposing faction. So if you go in there, you are hostile to everyone. You cannot attack people unless they attack you first. But more than likely in those zones, if you attack anyone first, you're probably going to get your poop pushed in, for lack of better term. So to catch us up on the storyline, for those of you who've not played World of Warcraft, you guys are first-time newbies and everything. Like I said, I'm going to start at level 1. I'm not great at the game, I already said that, but I also want to show you guys the cinematics here. I apologize if there's any lag. Like I said, my computer's not the best. There shouldn't be, but the cinematics in this game are absolutely amazing, especially the very first one. So I at least want to show you them so you guys can understand the story so far. And I guess we'll start there. So I have show subtitles on. These are the 3 cinematics. This is the very first one. This is the Burning Crusade, and this is Wrath of the Lich King. We will start here. Now, depending on how long these take, that may be all I do in this episode. And the second episode is when we're actually going to pick our class and everything. Or maybe we'll at least go over all the classes in this episode as well, so you guys can see what each one of them is, and I'll actually read everything. We'll see. But I will pick the first cinematic. Here we go.
4 years have passed since the mortal races banded together and stood united against the might of the Burning Legion. Though Azeroth was saved, the tenuous pact between the Horde and the Alliance has all but evaporated. The drums of war thunder once again. So that is the very beginning. You heard the two factions in there. You have the Alliance and the Horde. A lot of people say the Alliance is good. A lot of people say the Horde is bad. I would like to point out that if you look at each individual story of the different races and of the factions, both sides, depending on how you look at it, both sides can be considered good, both sides can be considered bad. So just keep that in mind. Now we're going to jump into the story of the Burning Crusade, which takes place after the initial war broke out between the Horde and the Alliance. So this is the Burning Crusade.
Imprisoned for 10,000 years. Banished from my own homeland. And now you dare enter my realm. You are not prepared. not prepared!
So as you can see, that was the Burning Crusade. The very first two people or beings that you've seen in that one, those were introduced in the Burning Crusade. The very first one was a Draenei, the second one was a Blood Elf. We will go over all the classes here shortly, right after this last one here. So this is the Wrath of the Lich King. Almost every DLC new races have been introduced in the game. I think between these two there actually was not any, but after the Wrath of the Lich King, they started reintroducing new characters again. The only bad thing so far that I'm worried about is if we start this with the Wrath of the Lich King, after this, like I said, comes the Cataclysm. It is basically cataclysmic events that changes the complete world of Warcraft. Like the landscape, everything. So I think that's why a lot of people like staying with just a regular classic. I don't know if this is going to go into Cataclysm, but if it is, I don't want to rush through the game. That's the last thing I want to do. But I may have to if you guys are wanting to see how the story goes and everything. Just because if we don't at least get to the Lich King and the story behind him, it's going to be very confusing if the Cataclysm happens before that. So we'll see what happens with it, but nonetheless, here we go with Wrath of the Lich King cinematic.
My son, the day you were born, the very forests of Lordaeron whispered the name Arthas. Child, I watched with pride as you grew into a weapon of righteousness. Remember, our line has always ruled with wisdom and strength. And I know you will show restraint when exercising your great power. Truest victory, my son, is stirring the hearts of your people. I tell you this, for when my days have come to an end, you shall be king.
So, really cool cinematics, guys. I absolutely love them. That last one kind of reminds me of a bit from Game of Thrones, which is why I actually love that show as well. Um, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at the different classes that we have to start off with here, guys. All right, so here we are with the different classes and the races. The races are up here on the top left. So these are the Alliance races over here. These are the Horde races over here. I will point out these two bottom ones. This is the Draenei, this is the Blood Elf. All the ones before this, so from here up and from here up, those were your original starter classes in the regular Classic WoW. Before Burning Crusade even. And then these two were added in Burning Crusade. And then same as this down here. So we have a Death Knight that was added in Burning Crusade. And we have a Shaman that was added in Burning Crusade. All these other classes we'll go over, like I said, but all these other classes were with the original 8 characters that we have here. So the 4 from the Horde, the 4 from the Alliance. So each and every class at the moment, from what you see here, has a female and a male character. Now this guy, you're like, oh, he's in a dress. It's not a dress. I mean, yeah, it's a dress. Okay, anyway, so depending on the class that you pick here, they're going to look different. It's going to be based off of what you're actually picking for a role. Now, I will say, I don't know if it's going to let me. I'm not going to pick Death Knight, but I don't know if it's going to let me. If I wanted to pick Death Knight, I know in the original one, you had to at least have I think a level 60 character, because the Death Knights started at level 55. And when they first came out, to me, I think they were a bit overpowered. So a lot of stuff happened and everything. So before we even get into the actual classes here, we're going to go over the races first. So you're human. They all have passive abilities and things like that, which you can see over here. The humans. It says humans are a young race and thus highly versatile, mastering the arts of combat, craftsmanship, and magic with stunning efficiency. The humans' valor and optimism have led them to build some of the world's greatest kingdoms. In this troubled era, the generations of conflict, humanity seeks to rekindle its former glory and forge a shining new future. Now, if we scroll back up here, these are passive traits that the human comes with. So they have stealth detection increased. They have increased spirit, which that's kind of like one of the stats in the game. It helps with other things, which we'll eventually go over that, I'm sure, in the long run of the game. Bonus to reputation gains. That one is huge for humans. Increased expertise with swords and maces. I think they all have increased expertise with certain weapons. So there's the swords and maces. And then can break out of speed altering and trapping effects. So that is a human. Like I said, we'll go over the class part later. That's down here on the bottom. We'll go over that in a second. We're going to do each race first. So next we have our dwarves. And let's click off of that. Let's just look at a different thing here, just so you can see that they do look different. I don't know why his face looks like that. I don't remember them looking so dead like that. You know what? That's probably his actual face. There we go. Yeah. So there's other faces in here. You guys can change all of this stuff. For those of you curious and you're weird like that, you cannot alter the breast size of the women, just so you're aware. So let's go ahead and leave this one here. So the dwarves. It says, in ages past, the dwarves cared only for riches taken from the earth's depths. Then records surfaced of a godlike race said to have given the dwarves life. An ancient birthright. Driven to learn more, the dwarves devoted themselves to the pursuit of lost artifacts and ancient knowledge. Today, dwarven archaeologists are scattered throughout the globe. I thought that said and. So if we take a look at their passive traits here, it says they may take on a stone form. So they have a form where they can turn into stone, basically. Increased critical chance with guns. resistance to frost, treasure finding, and expertise with maces. Then we have our night elves. So we take a look at our night elves here. We have, let's pick a different thing here. Oh, we already did priest. So there's a Death Knight night elf. So it says 10,000 years ago, the night elves founded a vast empire, but their reckless of use of primal magic. Sorry, I thought I read that wrong. But the reckless use of primal magic brought them to ruin. In grief, they withdrew to the forest and remained isolated there until the return of their ancient enemy, the Burning Legion. With no other choice, the Night Elves emerged at last from their seclusion to fight for their place in the New World. Then if we come back up here, we have May Fade into the Shadows for one of their passives. More difficult to hit, meaning they have, I think it's higher agility, dexterity, one of those things. Anyway, they're harder to hit. Wisp form while dead for faster movement. So when you die in this game, you actually turn into a ghost. They turn into a wisp, which is like just a little glowing dot basically, and they can just move faster. Because when you die in this game, like I said, you turn into a ghost. You actually have to run back to your body. You have two options. You can run back to your body and resurrect at your body, or you can resurrect when you die. It'll put you at a graveyard. You can resurrect at the graveyard, but I think if you resurrect at the graveyard, you actually take more loss to your like more durability loss to your equipment and your like weapons and everything. If you go back to your body, you still take some, but not as much. And then their last one here, it says resistance to nature damage. So a night elf versus a night elf is going to be pretty interesting because depending on the class you pick, most of the time night elves do have nature damage type stuff. There are other classes that do, but just one instance there. So then we have our gnomes. Let's switch back over to women and we'll do a warlock because you guys haven't seen a warlock yet. So it says, though small in stature, the gnomes of Cosmodan have used their great intellect to secure a place in the history. Indeed, their subterranean kingdom, Gnomoregan, was once a marvel of steam-driven technology. Even so, due to massive Trog invasion, the city was lost. Now its builders are vagabonds in the dwarven lands, aiding their allies as best they can. Scrolling back up to the top here, it says may escape from speed altering effects, increase intelligence, resistance to arcane damage, and engineering skill increased. Then we have our Draenei, which was one of the newer classes, and for this one, we will switch back over to the male. You can make, if I'm not mistaken, I think you can make slender males too. No, you can't. I could have swore there was a body one here. That's all hair stuff, face, skin color. Yeah, you can do different skin colors too, but that's besides the point. So over here we have driven from their home world of Argus, the honorable Draenei fled the Burning Legion for eons before finding a remote planet to settle on. So they're basically aliens, guys. They shared this world with the shamanistic orcs and named it Draenor. In time, the Legion corrupted the orcs, who waged war and nearly exterminated the peaceful Draenei. A lucky few fled to Azeroth, where they now seek allies in their battle against the Burning Legion. And if we go back up to the top here, their jewel crafting skills increased, which we will go over things like jewel crafting. There are different what do you want to call them? Skills that you can learn in the game. Jewel crafting is one of them. There's a ton of different ones. We'll go over those once we're in the game because it's not going to let you pick those here. That's something you actually learn while playing the game. May heal self and or others over time. Party members' chance to hit with melee and spells increased, and resistant to shadow damage. So then we're going to come over here and we're going to take a look at the Horde side.
So this is your orc, and we're going to switch back over to female. Who haven't we done yet? We will look at a shaman. So the orcs, the orc race originated on the planet Draenor, a peaceful people with shamanic beliefs. They were enslaved by the Burning Legion and forced into war with the humans of Azeroth. Although it took many years, the orcs finally escaped their demon's corruption and won their freedom. To this day, they fight for honor in an alien world that hates and reviles them. Reviles? Is that what that is? Reveals? Reviles? I think it's reviles. Sorry, I had to cough there. So the orcs and the Draenei basically come from the same world, which is weird because they ended up on different alliances here, on different factions. So we come back up here. The orcs may enrage to increase damage, resistant to stun effects, damage done by pets are increased, and increased expertise with axes and fist weapons. So now we're going to switch back over to the male, and we're going to go with the undead here. So this is the undead class, which he looks absolutely disgusting. And who haven't we looked at? Warrior, why not? I think we did see Warrior. I don't know. Anyway, so coming over here, free of the Lich King's grasp, the Forsaken seek to overthrow his rule, led by the Banshee Sylvanas. Sylvanas. It sounds weird while I'm saying it, but I'm reading it right. They hunger for vengeance against the Scourge. Humans, too, have become the enemy, relentless in their drive to purge all undead from the land. The Forsaken care little even for their allies. To them, the Horde is merely a tool that may further their dark schemes. So if we come up here, it says can remove fear, sleep, and charm just from being undead. That's actually pretty powerful there. May consume corpse to regain health. That's also pretty powerful. Underwater breathing increased. I did not even know they could do that. Resistant to shadow damage. Makes sense because they're undead. Alright, and then we will go back to female, and we will pick the Tauren here. So this is a Tauren. We could actually do a druid for her. So if we come down here, it says, always the Tauren strive to preserve the balance of nature and heed the will of their goddess, the Earth Mother. Recently attacked by murderous Centaur, which is surprising because they never put Centaur in the game. I mean, there's Centaur in the game, but they never made an actual playable class. The Tauren would have been wiped out, save for a chance to encounter with the orcs, who helped defeat the interlopers. To honor this blood debt, the Tauren joined the Horde, solidifying the two races' friendship. That's actually pretty cool. I did not know that about them. That makes sense as to why they ended up on that side. So it sounds like the Draenei should have been on the Horde, and these guys should have actually been on the Alliance, but that makes sense. I mean, you know, they basically saved your race. Yeah, you're going to help them. Come up here. It says May Stomp, stunning nearby opponents. So basically they can do like a ground slam type thing and stun everyone around them. Maximum health increased. Herbalism skill increased. So that's another skill we were talking about, like the jewel crafting. Resistant to nature damage, which also makes sense. And we're going to go back over here to the male. We're going to pick the troll here. So these are the trolls. Let's pick a class we haven't yet, which let's do Hunter. Which I'm just showing you guys the class. I'll still go over them in a second. I'm just showing you them as we're going through. So it says here, once at home in the jungles of Stranglethornville, the fierce trolls of the Dark Spear tribe were pushed out by warring factions. Sorry. This is why I don't read out loud, guys. Eventually the trolls befriended the Orcish Horde and Thrall. Thrall is basically the it says right there. So it's the Orcs' young war chief, which that's what he is. He's just the war chief of the Orcs. He's like their commander. Convinced the trolls
convince the trolls to travel with him to Kalimdor. Though they cling to their shadowy heritage, the Darkspear trolls hold a place of honor in the Horde. We come up here. These are the passives for the trolls. So we have Berserk, which is increasing attack and casting speed. They have regeneration increase, meaning they can like re-heal faster. Damage increase versus beasts, so they're good against creatures. Increased critical chance with throwing weapons and bows, and reduced duration of movement, reducing effects. Sorry, I had to cough again. Last but not least, is one of the newer additions, just like the Draenei, the Blood Elves. We're going to switch back over to the female. So this is a Blood Elf. Oh, and we need to switch to Paladin, because I don't think we did Paladin. I think Shaman. We might have had to take a look at Shaman, right? Shaman. Okay, anyway, we'll go with Paladin for this one. So let's scroll all the way down here. Oh, this one's actually a little bit longer. Okay. Long ago, exiled High Elves founded Kel'Thalas, where they created magical founts called the Sunwell. Though they were strengthened by its powers, they also grew increasingly dependent on them. Ages later, undead Scourge destroyed the Sunwell and most of the High Elf population, now called Blood Elves. So basically they are High Elves, they're just now called Blood Elves because their population was almost extinct. These scattered refugees are rebuilding Kel'Thalas as they search for a new magic source to satisfy their painful addiction. And if we scroll back up here, we have Enchanting Skill Increased, may restore mana, energy, or runic power. I don't know if that means that's just on normal attack they get stuff back. I don't know what that one means. May silence nearby opponent. Same thing with that one. If it says may, I'm assuming that just means with every attack they have a chance of doing it. Resistant to magical damage. I did not know that. Although it makes sense if they were used to be High Elves. So, with that being said, that is all of the classes. Now we are going to go back and we're going to do each one of these one by one. But we will... So, when you're looking at the races here, anything that's grayed out, so this one is a druid, that's a hunter, and that's a shaman. That means that this person cannot be those three classes and they can be all these other ones. Oh, we never looked at the mage. That was the other thing, I think. Whatever. We'll start with a warrior. We'll go just down the line here. And we'll stay on human unless they don't have it here, then we'll switch off of them. So, warrior. They are tank or damage. Or, sorry, roll. They are tank or damage. Heavy armor. So, mail, plate, and shield. Deals damage with melee weapons. Has 3 fighting stances with different benefits. Uses rage as a resource. So basically instead of mana they have rage. Warriors are plate wearing fighters who strive for perfection in armed combat as warriors deal damage, they generate rage, which is used to power their special attacks. Warriors can choose to focus on two-handed weapons, dual wielding, or using a sword and shield. Warriors have several abilities that let them move quickly around the battlefield. Their primary stat is strength, though tanking warriors desire stamina as well. Then we come over to our paladin here. So their role as a paladin would be a tank, a healer, or damage. They also wear heavy armor, which is mail and plate and shield. Righteous vanquishers of evil. Deals holy and melee damage, have a variety of self-defensive spells, and use mana as a resource. Paladins are heavily armored fighters and defenders who use holy magic to heal wounds and combat evil. Paladins are relatively self-sufficient and have many abilities targeted at death prevention. They can focus on two-handed weapons, shields, or healing. The primary stat depends on their role. Their primary stats depend on their role. And then we will go to hunter, but we can't, so we are going to pick someone who can. So we have the Draenei here. So the role as a hunter is damage. So, I mean,
Don't get me wrong, just because it says this, I have seen hunters be tanks before. I've never seen one be a healer. I've seen a hunter be a tank before. Theirs is a bit complicated, which it might say down in here, but we'll see. So their armor, they have medium armor, which is leather and mail. Emphasis on range damage and traps. Gains a beast of your choice as a lifelong companion. So that right there, we'll come back to that in a second. And good at leveling and soloing. So gains a beast of choice as lifelong companion. I didn't want to ruin it, but since it says it here, we'll go over that. What that means is you can actually gain a pet in the game. There are creatures in the game that, you know, when you're playing through, if it's tameable, you can actually tame it as a pet, and you can use those. So that's what I mean by I have seen people tank before. I've seen people use turtles or bears, things like that. And as long as they're setting their skills up and everything right, turtles can take massive amounts of damage just because of, you know, their armor and everything like that. And then the hunter can just stand back and use like a bow or something and just DPS it down, while technically the turtle is the one that's tanking. But I have seen them do it. It's harder for them, but it's possible. Hunters are at home in the wilderness and have special affinity for beasts. They use ranged weapons such as bows or guns and their pet to deal damage. They can use traps to cause damage or keep an enemy at bay. The hunter's primary stats are attack power and agility. Then we have our rogue here, which most of the people that play rogue are usually undead, at least on the horde side. I guess over here it's probably either night elf or hunter, or sorry, night elf or human. The role here is damage. Medium armor, so just leather. Wields a weapon on each hand. Emphasizes stealth, poisons, and control. What they mean by control is like crowd control. I wouldn't say they're actually too good at crowd control. They're decent at it, but there's a lot better classes that can do crowd control a lot better than them. Anyway, build up to 5 combo points, build up 5 combo points to unleash finishing moves. Use energy as a resource. So instead of mana or rage, like we talked about, they use energy. Rogues often serve as assassins or scouts, though I cannot read today, guys. Though many are lone wolves as well. Rogues specialize in dual wielding a variety of weapons, though the iconic rogue weapon is the dagger. Rogues can often sneak around enemies or attack an opponent from behind to try to finish them off quickly. Their primary stats are attack power and agility. Then we have our priest here. So the priest, it says roll, healer, or damage, which is interesting, but possible. Definitely possible. I don't want to ignore that. That is definitely possible. Light armor, cloth. Heavy damage with holy magic. Cause damage with shadow magic, and uses mana as a resource. Priests are well-rounded healers with a variety of tools. However, they can also sacrifice their healing to deal damage with shadow magic. Within society, priests act as the spiritual leaders of their respective races. The priest's primary stats are spell power, intellect, and spirit if healing. And we have our Death Knight over here. Main roles: tank and damage. Heavy armor, plate. Former servants of the Lich King. Start at level 55. So yeah, these automatically do start at level 55 even in here. And you know what? It's probably not grayed out because I do have other classes already made, and I do have one that's over 60. So that's probably why it's actually letting me select this. But that's good though, because now I can read this to you guys. And then combined melee attack with spells, disease, and undead minions. Uses runes as a resource, which the rune thing, I don't like it. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely possible. People play them all the time. I just didn't like it. I tried a Death Knight. These former agents of the Scourge have now allied themselves with the Alliance of the Horde, with the Alliance have now allied themselves with the Alliance or Horde. So basically, I think you can be a Death Knight on either one, but a Death Knight in general was still a servant to the Lich King. Anyway, Death Knights are a hero class, which means that they start at a high level. Death Knights use runes as their primary resource for each of the 3 types of runes. They use different abilities. Death Knights have more ranged capabilities than most melee classes, with an emphasis on causing disease and doing damage with their undead pets. Their primary stat is strength and also stamina if tanking. Then we have Shaman here, so let's pick someone who can be a Shaman. Roll, healer or damage, medium armor, leather or mail and shield. Invokes the power of 4 elements. Uses totems to buff, heal, or deal damage. Temporarily enchants weapons with spells. Uses mana as resources. As a resource. Shaman use the power of the elements to enhance their weapon damage or spells. Shaman summon totems in combat, small objects that buff, heal, or cause damage to enemies. Shaman often act as spiritual leaders in tribal communities. Their primary stats depend on their role. And we have a mage here. Who can be a mage? Someone we haven't picked yet. There we go. Mage. Roll is damage. Light armor, cloth. Deals frost, fire, or arcane magic damage. Can polymorph enemies or freeze them into the ground. Can teleport to cities and conjure food and water. That is actually a really cool ability. So once you get to a certain point in the game, you can actually learn different teleport spells that can teleport you to the different main cities. And then you can also make food and water just out of using your magic spells, which is pretty cool. Uses mana as a resource. Mages are the iconic magic users of Azeroth and learn their craft through intense research and study. They make up for their light armor with a potent array of offensive and defensive spells. Their primary stats are spell power and intellect. Then we have the Warlock here. Damage, light armor, cloth, summons demons as servants. Emphasis on curse, drains, and other damage over time spells, which damage over time, once again, if you guys are new, damage over time, that is going to be a dot. What that means, DOT, damage over time. I'm just explaining that because when I'm playing the game, if I say anything about dots, I want you to know what I'm talking about. So if anyone mentions dots, or if I say dots, they're talking about damage over time. Can consume a soul shard for special abilities. Uses mana as a resource. And this one looks like a bit of a longer one. Not real long, but longer. Warlocks deal fire and shadow magic to damage, drain, or curse their enemy. They can drain souls to power their spells. Warlocks can convert their health into mana, or summon group members to their locations. Warlocks are feared in some alliance societies, while considered great leaders in some horde societies. As casters, the Warlock's primary stats are spell power and intellect. And then we have our last one here, which is a druid. So the role here is tank, healer, or damage, medium armor, leather, shapeshifts into animal forms. That's kind of cool. Versatile, can fill a healing, tanking, or can fill a healing, tanking, melee, or caster role. And I'm sorry if you guys don't like the way I say melee. I know some people, I don't want to say a lot. Some people say melee. I don't think it's melee. I mean, yeah, that's me and then Lee. But I think it's melee. I could be wrong, but whatever, that's how I say it. I apologize if you don't like it.
Uses mana, rage, or energy as a resource depending on form. So what I was saying, it actually kicked us back to the part, I guess, because we hadn't picked anything yet, even though I've been clicking all over the place and everything. I guess it just registered that we weren't doing anything. So depending on the animal form it turns into, that would use mana, rage, or energy as resources depending on which animal form. And then if we scroll all the way down here, druids are shapeshifters with an affinity for the plant and animal kingdoms. There are 3 types of druids: balanced druids who can cast nature or arcane spells at range, feral druids who can take on the form of cat or bear to fight with melee, or restoration druids who can heal their allies with an emphasis on heal over time spells. So that, just like the previous one, just like the warlock has a dot, this would be a hot, heal over time, H-O-T. Emphasis on heal over time spells. Druid primary stats depend on their role. So this sounds like more of an advanced class. But anyway, so that's going to be it for this one, guys. I don't want this to be too long. We're not even going to pick a class in this one. So what I want you guys to do, if you're excited for this, based on my previous videos, things that you guys have heard me say in other videos, or based on what you heard me say in this one, which race and which class do you think I'm going to end up picking? Just let me know down in the comment section. We'll see who's right, who's wrong, who knows what they're talking about, and who's just taking a guess and got lucky. But anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. In the next one, I will probably let you guys know which server I'm joining and everything. I just don't want to be... I can't say stream site because I'm not streaming, but I don't want to be, caught in the line of fire while I'm trying to record and stuff like that, which is going to be hard in the future because it is a PvP server that I am going to join, and I will eventually let you guys know, but you guys will probably be a little bit behind me just because these are going to be put out probably the next day after recording it. So if you guys know where I leave off, you might catch me, you might not. I mean, it'd be fun to find out either way. It'll test my skills, it'll test your skills if you find me. Or if you guys just want to play with me and you want to be on the same side, let me know. Put it down in the comment section as well. And at that point, I'll probably still... I'll give it to you guys eventually, but I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I don't even know if I want to join a guild and all that stuff. Which in this game, you kind of sort of do have to join a guild when you get into endgame stuff. But at the same time, I think... Was it with Wrath? I don't think it was with Wrath of the Lich King. Anyway, at some point they added in a what's it called? They added in a They added in a PvP ranking system, like a gladiator type thing that you could do, and you could still do all that on your own, still level up and actually get PvP gear, which was very compatible to the actual campaign gear and stuff like that. Or to the PvE gears, if that's what you want to call it. Now, obviously, there was a little bit of difference in stats and everything, but that's just because it was just based off of you fighting players versus you fighting NPCs. But anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. I'm looking forward to Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Like I said, if you guys are already playing this, let me know. I still think I already have a server picked out and everything, but I will be going from there. Once again, thanks for joining me today. If you guys liked the video, I know it was kind of long and I didn't really do much, but I also suck at reading, so I need to get more reading done. So thank you for at least listening to all my stuttering and everything like that. Definitely appreciate it. But anyways, if you guys liked the video, hit the like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're not a subscribed, it's completely free and it helps out the channel. And last thing is, make sure you guys are hitting that notification bell icon. It does help out the channel with the whole algorithm thing, and it also lets you guys know when I'm posting new videos. So thanks again, and I will see you guys in the next video.